staffers have been hired since January 2023. And the Environmental Protection Agency has unveiled its final Clean Air Act emissions regulations for passenger cars and light and medium-duty vehicles to be phased in for model years 2027 and beyond. Danielle Smith looks at what that could mean for Pennsylvanians.
Pennsylvania ranks 43rd among states for its residents' average exposure to airborne soot of 2.5 microns or smaller, according to the American Health Rankings. And the Pittsburgh and Weirton area is on the American Lung Association's list of cities with the most year-round particle pollution. Cara Cook with the Alliance of Nurses for Healthy Environments says her profession is seeing firsthand the impact of tailpipe pollution on community health.
Research shows that traffic pollution is linked to premature death, lung cancer, and asthma. And what we're seeing among nurses is that they're increasingly concerned about the transportation sector as a leading source of pollution.
According to the EPA, the new air quality rules will prevent over 7 billion tons of carbon emissions and save $13 billion in healthcare costs with improved air quality. But it's widely anticipated that the fossil fuel industry will challenge these regulations.
Our newscast this hour is being brought to you by St. Barnabas, the perfect place for mom.
Honey, I found the perfect place for my parents and us.
Where?
St. Barnabas. For us, the Woodlands Carriage Home Community. And for my parents, condominium-style living at the Village. My folks will love the Village. There's an indoor mall with shops, restaurants, and more. And we can relax, knowing they're safe and secure.
That's what I plan to do when we move to St. Barnabas. Relax.
Call 724-444-5568 or visit stbarnabascommunities.com.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
A mild morning shaping up for a beautiful day with mostly sunny skies and a high near 52. Tonight it'll be partly cloudy. We'll drop down to a low of just about 34. Lots of sunshine through the day. Tomorrow we'll see a high of 54. The rain will start to move in Friday night. We'll drop down to a low of about 36. The rain will continue throughout the day on Saturday with a high near 56. And it's looking like we'll have a beautiful Easter Sunday with a mix of sun and clouds and a high near 59. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Thursday, March the 28th of 2024, at 11 after 9, we've got a temperature of 37 degrees with sunny skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh for 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and beavercountyradio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
All right, I can already sense an issue. The issue is, for me, today is Friday, and my brain's behaving like it's Friday, so I am going to lean heavily on my guest this first hour. You guys, you better have it going on. That's all I'm saying. It's the Huntington Business Spotlight. It is Teleforum. I said guest, plural. Ron Gavel is here, mortgage loan officer for Huntington Bank. Stephanie Hook is here, a loan officer, and Matt Madani. Matt, did I said that right? I hope. Mm-hmm. Did I say that right? All right. You're a realtor. It is Huntington Business Spotlight, and among other things, we're going to talk about the home buying seminar. But I want to start with a simple question. Any of you can answer this. When you watch the news, you get told it's extraordinarily difficult for somebody, a person, to buy a home. How realistic is that? Is that the sky is falling, or is it more difficult now than it used to be? Ron, you're looking at me.
Yeah,
you want to go first?
Yeah, it's common for news outlets to display car wrecks because people pay attention to car wrecks, not when somebody helps somebody cross the street. So yes, home buying is still the way to go. It beats renting. There's anxiety with rent that's not there with home ownership, and many other benefits from that. So yes, the sky's not falling.
Okay.
And it's a great time to buy.
All right, we're going to get into a whole lot of questions. I want to take a break first to get everything out of the way. Matt Madani is my guest. Ron Gavel is my guest. Stephanie Hook is my guest. And we're going to break down, because I remember my process of buying a home, and I want to see if it's the same. We'll take care of that after this. It's the Huntington Business Spotlight on Beaver County Radio.
If being well educated is important to you, then you need to get to Friendly Federal Credit Union now. This is Cindy Hilario. Besides helping to educate you and your family about managing money, we also help educate the future generations of Beaver County.
It's true. Right now, applications for the annual Carl D. Ross and Anthony S. Payne Memorial Scholarships are now available. 2 $1,000 scholarships are awarded every year to help fund education for our local members. This is Karen Latshaw. Click friendlyfcu.org or visit Friendly Federal Credit Union for more information or to apply.
Learn more, get it, about what your credit union can do for you. Visit the place that makes more sense for you. Friendly Federal Credit Union, member NCUA, equal housing lender.
Friendly Federal Credit Union, you got a friend.
Tune in to Beaver County Radio for your chance to win a pair of Pittsburgh Pirates tickets to the Sunday, April the 7th game against the Baltimore Orioles at PNC Park. Like the Bucks, we have our own treasure chest full of tickets to give away all season long. Listen during Live Mike with Mike Romai and Teleforum with Eddie Crow for your chance to win. We will also be giving away pairs of tickets on the WBVP WNBA Facebook throughout the season. The Pirates season ticket giveaway is being brought to you by the Cornerstone of Beaver County, Friendly Federal Credit Union, Patriot Home Care, and Beaver County Radio.
It started with a road trip into the American Midwest. Huntington bankers with one mission, to understand how people made sense of money. And that's how we met Brenda.
How do I control money? Envelopes. The first of the month, I divide up my cash. 1 envelope for groceries, 1 for gas, 1 for fun. It helps plan out my spending.
And that's how we came up with digital envelopes for your checking account. Our customers give us the best ideas. Huntington, welcome. Member FDIC. Learn more at huntington.com.
Talk about what's happening in Beaver County or around the world on Teleforum. 724-843-1888. 724-774-1888. It's Teleforum with Eddie Crow.
It is indeed that. It's 17 minutes after 9. It is the Huntington Business Spotlight. As I told you a couple minutes ago, Stephanie Hook is here and Ron Gavel is here and Matt Madani is here. And we're talking about buying a house. Stephanie, I want to ask you something. Is there a typical first-time buyer?
No.
Okay.
It could be anyone. It's funny. I was just talking to a lady last week that was in her 80s and looking to buy her first home.
Really?
Yeah. There's no age limit. Anyone, any walk of life can buy a home. Absolutely.
I'm curious. Did you ask her why she hadn't bought a home until now? Did it come up in conversation?
Yeah, definitely.
Don't share story.
No,
don't tell me stuff I shouldn't know. But
yeah, I mean, it's a huge point of conversation. Of course,
Yeah.
We never discriminate based on age at all.
Right.
But it's a story, right? I want to know what's going on in her life that brought her to that. And at 80 years old, she never thought it was possible before. She had lived in a home owned by other family members before, but never had the opportunity to buy one herself. So,
did she say why she didn't think it was possible?
well, just the normal barriers. She had some trouble in the past. Some credit issues,
Okay.
So didn't have the money down, and all of those things. We talk about these every day, that there's a lot of myths in the marketplace, that people think that they need to have a certain amount down. They've got to have 20%, they've got to have perfect credit, and that's just not true.
Why do people believe that? Because I was ignorant when I bought one house in my life, and I had no idea what was going on. I just kind of went along, and you get the papers put in front of you and you sign the papers. What are some of the myths that people think when they come in that you have to explain? No, that's not right.
Yeah, so one of the biggest ones is the down payment. 20% down is what our parents and grandparents told us. And while that does make your home more affordable,
Mm-hmm.
You might have a lower mortgage payment. You might avoid some fees. It isn't necessary. So we can another story here real quickly.
That's all right.
Last week, I closed, it was actually really near and dear to my heart, closed a transaction for a gentleman buying his first home. He actually received a check back at closing. So he had $0 into the purchase of his first home.
I really wish I'd have known about you when I bought my house.
Yeah, there's amazing programs out there, and it's our job in the industry to help find what fits for you and make a mortgage payment work for you.
Matt, talk a little bit about the realtor side of it.
Yeah, to kind of touch on what Stephanie brought up, I actually have 3 different first-time home buyers that I'm working with right now, and they're decades apart in age. I have one in their 60s, I have one in their 30s, and one in their early 20s. So just to kind of piggyback off of that, it's interesting because I don't think there is a typical first-time home buyer. As far as my role, on the realtor side of things, we try to be, number one, the advocate. Our main job is to take care of the client, watch out for their best interest, but kind of be the concierge, the middleman for the whole process. We work closely with the lenders, the closing and title people, the home inspectors, really to kind of walk the buyer through the home buying process step by step. Everything from preparation, discussions in the beginning, what they're looking to do, all the way through to the closing table and beyond. And with a lot of my clients, we stayed in touch over the years, and they've told me it's just nice to have someone there, say years after closing, they need a roofer or a plumber. It's just really about relationships, and that's what I've built my business on, is the relationships I build with my clients and some of the vendors that I work with as well.
Ron, I saw you nodding. I want to ask you, as a loan officer, is it easier or more difficult? What's different about approving somebody for a loan now than maybe 10 years ago?
Well, I'm going to transfer that question over to Stephanie, but
Okay.
I wanted to wrap up what Stephanie and Matt had said just previously. Matt and I got together last year and came up with this program for the first-time buyer seminar, because we've heard all the myths, we heard them from clients, and we decided, because Huntington invests in our communities, we want our communities to grow and prosper, and one of the ways of doing that is to encourage homeownership.
All right. The seminar is coming up April 6th.
Yes.
All right. Talk about the seminar, because I've asked 2 questions about misinformation. It's much better than what people are coming and saying, well, I heard this.
Right. So we'll go back to last year. Last year's seminar was again, eye-opening. We assumed some things, and when we got there and started the seminar, the first section was on myths that aren't true, and I saw light bulbs go off on heads. I saw a relaxed sense among them, because they felt and they thought that they needed 20% done. They had that perfect credit, and once we started with that, then they at that point realized maybe this is possible. And we had a very successful seminar last year. We had, I think, 4 buyers, and then they varied in age range too. So it is important for us to do this, because we do want to encourage homeownership in our communities.
What are some of the myths besides the 20% down? I didn't have to do 20% down. I couldn't have done 20% down. But when people come and talk to you at last year's seminar, what were the myths that you dispelled and made everybody exhale?
Well, they were the 2 big ones. They're the ones who really, the 2 that keep people from actually moving forward. But the other one I heard was the fear of being told no. No one likes to be turned on. And they were afraid if they started the process, they would be told no, and it would make them sad and discouraged from applying again.
Yeah,
so
nobody wants to walk in and say, they're going to tell me no.
Right, and that was some of the attitude. But what we also do with these seminars is we work with clients. If they're not in a position to buy at that point, we work with them sometimes over months. And I think in a couple cases, probably a year, helping, get the credit situation in a point where they actually qualify, if that's the issue. But whatever the issue is, we work with them to get them to that point where they can buy a home.
What is good credit? I come to you and I say, you know what, Ron, I want to buy a home. And you say, all right, let's look at the credit score. What number is going to make you go, all right, we can work with that, as opposed to a number that you're going to say, okay, we're going to work with you and we're going to address that.
Stephanie?
Yeah?
Yeah, good question. I would say there isn't one particular number, and everyone's situation
Really?
is different. Yeah, so I've had someone with a 0 credit score and was able to help them buy a house, so didn't have one.
I thought it was like the SAT. If you put your name on it, you got something. Can there actually be a 0 score?
There is indeed a 0. Yes, there is.
All right, be honest. Don't give me too much information. How hard do you have to work at messing up to get a 0 score?
So what's funny is that it's not about messing up. It's
Okay.
that they've done everything right. So they've not used credit. So they've paid everything in cash, have 0 credit. Maybe they pay bills in cash or with check or however they pay them, but they don't have a credit card. They don't abuse a credit card, but they don't have a credit card. So it's just creating that, using other sources to create a score when there isn't one.
Well, I want to ask you, okay, in the world we live in, do you have to have a credit score at some point? I mean, we're talking about, for a lot of people, they come to Huntington Bank. This is the largest purchase they're ever going to make in their life. Do you have to have a credit card and a credit score to function in life in general?
Gosh, it sure helps. It
Does
sure
it?
helps. Yeah. So creating that credit and nurturing your credit will give you more opportunities in life. I mean, your employer checks your credit. We check for banks to rent an apartment. Everyone checks your credit. They check your credit worthiness. To buy a cell phone, to turn on the gas in your house. Everything is going to help impact. A good credit score can help you throughout your life. So nurturing it is really important. But not overusing it, not charging up credit cards or using it, using it excessively. That's where you get into trouble, and your credit score can lower and be impacted from that.
How did the 0 credit score person get it sorted out?
That's a good question.
Is there is there
Yeah.
is there a sidebar where you can say, okay, you've got a 0 credit score, but you've got collateral? Does that weigh into it, or can a 0 credit score have collateral?
Yeah, so collateral assets help, but showing that they are willing to pay bills, like, for example, your cell phone bill or your Netflix bill or your rent, just showing that history that you're willing and able to pay bills on time. That's how you create a 0 credit score into something that can be financed.
All right. Stephanie Hook is my guest, along with Ron Gabel and Matt Madani. It is the Huntington Business Spotlight. After the news, we'll get more into the specifics of the home buying seminar. A 0 credit score. I was yelling at my daughter because hers was bad. She's got, okay. I'm gonna learn a whole lot more stuff that I should have learned about 30 years ago. Hang on.
Do you like sports? Then tune in every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for One Man's Opinion on Sports with Brian Pasquale. Brian is loaded with statistics and interesting sports viewpoints. The show can also be seen on the WBVP-WNBA Facebook page. Plus, Brian will be taking your calls as well. That's One Man's Opinion on Sports with Brian Pasquale. Every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. on Beaver County Radio.
It started with a road trip into the American Midwest. Huntington bankers with one mission: to understand how people made sense of money. And that's how we met Brenda.
How do I control money? Envelopes. The first of the month, I divide up my cash. 1 envelope for groceries, 1 for gas, 1 for fun. It helps plan out my spending.
And that's how we came up with digital envelopes for your checking account. Our customers give us the best ideas. Huntington, welcome. Member FDIC. Learn more at huntington.com.
Here's Dale Reckless from MRS Physical Therapy as he explains the importance of pre-sports testing to help you reduce the risk of injury.
The intrinsic factors are looking at things within our body that could be causing the problem. So that we start to look at as physical therapists, shoulder range of motion, forces at the elbow, things like that. We're looking at the whole kinetic chain. For example, turning your head side to side. If you have less than 39 degrees of that motion, you have a 9 times increased likelihood of an injury. So these intrinsic factors are both measurable and modifiable. So as a physical therapist, I can take a baseball player or any kind of athlete, I can do my tests on them, them and see if they're within normal limits or outside of normal limits. And based on research that's been done, I can tell if there's a likelihood of injury or not.
If you need physical therapy for any reason, choose the place your friends and neighbors do. MRS Physical Therapy in Bridgewater and Cranberry. Visit mrsphysicaltherapy.com.
When accidents and injuries happen, you need the experience and insight of the legal team at Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George. At Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George, they have the resources available to see your case from start to finish. Attorney Larry Kelly.
You know, at Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George, we're big boys. We assume all the costs, and we don't expect you to pay a penny. Now, what happens is, if you go to trial and the verdict is not favorable, you don't owe us any fees, nor do you reimburse us the cost. Now, if we're successful, then you'll pay a fee and you'll reimburse us the cost from the recovery. That's the way we do it at LGKG, and that's the way we've done it forever.
For your initial consultation, call the law firm of Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George at 724-658-8535 or online at lgkg.com. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George, keeping promises for over 80 years.
Push Beaver County returns for the second year, presenting the Beaver County Maple Syrup and Music Festival at Brady's Run Park, April 20th and 21st. Beaver County Radio is your place to win free tickets. Tune in Fridays during Live Mike with Mike Romine and Teleforum with me now through April 12th for your chance to win a pair of tickets to the festival, along with a half pint of Pennsylvania Pure Maple Syrup and 1 pound of Rosalind's Chocolate in a limited edition Beaver County Radio box. The Beaver County Maple Syrup and Music Festival ticket giveaway is being presented by Push Beaver County and Beaver County Radio.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning. We can expect sunny skies today with a high of around 53 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after this look at news. State Senator Doug Mastriano hosted a hearing yesterday at the Darlington Township Volunteer Fire Department to hear about the ongoing struggles of residents affected by the February 3rd Norfolk Southern train derailment in East Palestine. Members of the Senate Veterans Affairs and Emergency Preparedness Committee listened to the testimony of a 6-person panel as they detailed the burdens the crash continues to load onto their lives even after the disaster. Mastriano told them this is your chance to get your word out to the state and the nation. Residents expressed frustration with the lack of accountability from Norfolk Southern and the slow response of governments on the federal, state, and local level. State police in Beaver have released additional information regarding a shooting that took place in Aliquippa Tuesday. Here's Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano with more.
Aliquippa police responded to a shooting Tuesday night in the Linmore Terrace section of city. The incident involved a male being shot in the leg, and he was taken to the hospital. Aliquippa police turned over the investigation to the state police, who reported Wednesday night Maurice Mathis, 23, had multiple gunshot wounds to his lower extremities and was taken to Allegheny General Hospital. The incident is still under investigation. This is Sandy Giordano reporting for Beaver County Radio.
The House Consumer Protection Technology and Utilities Committee approved 2 bills, including legislation to promote the use of an energy-efficient insulating material and a measure that would alert consumers that the digital content they are viewing was generated by artificial intelligence, Majority Chairman Rob Matzey announced. Matzey said, "We want to encourage use of building materials that save energy, save costs, and protect workers, and mechanical insulation does all of those things." And additionally, HB 1598 would help safeguard consumers by requiring a disclosure on all AI-generated content. A federal appeals court says a requirement for Pennsylvania voters to put accurate handwritten dates on the outside envelopes of their mail-in ballots doesn't run afoul of a civil rights law. The Third U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled Wednesday to uphold enforcement of the required date on return envelopes. The dates are a technical mandate that caused thousands of votes to be declared invalid in the 2022 election. The total number is a small fraction of the large state's electorate. The court's ruling puts additional attention on Pennsylvania's election procedures ahead of the presidential election. And the Environmental Protection Agency has unveiled its final Clean Air Act emissions regulations for passenger cars and light and medium-duty vehicles to be phased in for model years 2027 and beyond. Danielle Smith looks at what that could mean for Pennsylvanians.
Pennsylvania ranks 43rd among states for its residents' average exposure to airborne soot of 2.5 microns or smaller, according to the American Health Rankings. And the Pittsburgh and Weirton area is on the American Lung Association's list of cities with the most year-round particle pollution. Cara Cook with the Alliance of Nurses for Healthy Environments says her profession is seeing firsthand the impact of tailpipe pollution on community health.
Research shows that traffic pollution is linked to premature death, lung cancer, and asthma. And what we're seeing among nurses is that they're increasingly concerned about the transportation sector as a leading source of pollution.
According to the EPA, the new air quality rules will prevent over 7 billion tons of carbon emissions and save $13 billion in healthcare costs with improved air quality. But it's widely anticipated that the fossil fuel industry will challenge these regulations.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
A mild morning shaping up for a beautiful day with mostly sunny skies and a high near 52. Tonight it'll be partly cloudy. We'll drop down to a low of just about 34. Lots of sunshine through the day. Tomorrow we'll see a high of 54. The rain will start to move in Friday night. We'll drop down to a low of about 36. The rain will continue throughout the day on Saturday with a high near 56. And it's looking like we'll have a beautiful Easter Sunday with a mix of sun and clouds and a high near 59. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Thursday, March the 28th of 2024, at 35 after 9, we've got a temperature of 39 degrees with sunny skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh for 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Talk about what's happening in Beaver County or around the world on Teleforum. 724-843-1888. 724-774-1888. It's Teleforum with Eddie Crow.
25 minutes till 10 o'clock is the Huntington Business Spotlight. With me this morning, Stephanie Hook, who is a loan officer with Huntington, Ron Gabel, a mortgage loan officer, and Matt Madani, a realtor. And we're talking about if you're in a position to buy a house for the first time, there is a lot of information that, well, Ron, is it fair to say it's just wrong, but it continues to be thought of by the general public? Because all of the, I can't buy a house for this, that, or the other, most of that is just rumor. Not much of that is true anymore, is it?
That's correct. The myths or the rumors that we hear from the people that come to our seminars are what we talked about before, the money down, the perfect credit, and just, again, the fear of being told no. At our seminars, we never say no. We say not right now, because we do work with them to get them in a position to say yes. And that's an important part of the seminar, giving them hope, giving them a path to get to home ownership. All right, the seminar is coming up a week from Saturday, April 6th, and it's at the center in Midland, and it goes from 10 to noon. When you tell them not right now, are they almost relieved that they're still in the running? Does that give them hope rather than the fear of, no, we can't do it? Absolutely. Yeah. If you are being told, again, you can't do it now, but here's the path put you in a position to do it, it's gratifying to work with somebody over 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 months. And when they're finding a position and they buy that house, it is so gratifying. It's one of the most gratifying parts of our job. That you made somebody's American dream come true. Yep. That's absolutely, that's amazing. Matt, I'm going to ask a stupid question. I hope you'll bear with me. If I want to buy a house, I'm better off going and seeing Ron and Stephanie and making sure the money is sorted out before I come to see you. Am I wasting your time if I get in touch with a realtor before I get in touch with Huntington?
No, not necessarily. As a matter of fact, I actually encourage a lot of buyers to call me and start with the planning phase as early as they're ready. It's no inconvenience to me. And one of the preferences that I have personally is I like to make sure my clients have a good experience, right? Happy
Sure.
customers is always a good thing. And something that a good agent can do is help connect you with a good lender. And, Ron and Stephanie and I have worked together many times in the past, but there's not any strict path as far as who you need to contact first, when you need to contact them. Whether you find a good realtor first or you find a good lender first, they're going to work together to help you through your home buying process. But it's no waste of time. As a matter of fact, I do enjoy helping with the planning stages of things. It makes it easier for all of us.
How long have you been a realtor?
About 8 years.
Is it easier or more difficult over the last 5 or 6 years? Because from the outside looking in, it seems like the world economy and the American economy is absolutely different. What's different for you now than 5, 6 years ago?
Yeah, that's fair. It's definitely changed a lot over my career. I think right now the thing that we're focusing on is education and, really communicating to our clients and to the consumers about what's going on out in the market. Anybody that watches the news regularly, scrolls Facebook, they've probably seen, some issues, some headlines coming up regarding real estate and lawsuits and commissions. And the thing that I like to remind people of is, number one, these headlines don't always tell the whole story, and it's not always a finished story either. Some of these issues that are in the news, they're not going to be finalized for many months, and is kind of a positive light. Pittsburgh, Western PA in general, had been an area where we tend to practice real estate in a safe and proper manner. We were actually one of the regions nationally that had a lot of the proper procedures in place already that some of the other markets nationwide had been dealing with. So we were kind of a front runner, so to speak, or a crowd leader as far as the right way to do things. And some of these issues that are being debated, we were already doing it the proper way here. So Western PA was really ahead of the curve with their real estate market.
Can you give me an example of how we do it right here versus the wrong way other places? What is a wrong way to do this?
Yeah, and can't get into too deep of specifics because a lot of this is still being handled by lawyers and legal matters. But I will kind of give you the Spark Notes version. Something we have here is called buyer agency. So again, on the subject of first-time home buyers, when you connect with a good realtor, that is your representative. If I'm using me, for example, my job is to represent you as a buyer, walk you through the process. You're the only person, that I have a fiduciary responsibility to. I'm not.
All right, that's a big word. What does that mean?
The layman's terms is my duty is to take care of you and not anybody else.
Gotcha.
So, when we're looking at homes, I don't have responsibilities to the sellers or other people. I'm just taking care of you and watching out for your best interest. But believe it or not, there's actually markets, throughout the country where buyer agency is not a thing, at least not the way that we have it here. So there's very, clear lines like, hey, Matt's my agent, right? Mm-hmm. He's going to take care of me, and he's not taking care of other people in the transaction. So it should be very simple to follow. But I've never worked in other states personally, but I can't imagine how challenging that could be in other areas where there's not those clear designations, and it's not always as simple as one agent, one client.
Well, it sounds like other places agents will be cherry picking and working two sides against the middle. I mean, how are they benefiting from that?
I wouldn't necessarily say cherry picking. It's just that the ways that their state real estate regulations may be different, the way that their board does things.
What they're allowed to do?
Yeah, basically what they're allowed to do, and I guess a a good way to put it is the common practice in other states. Can be much different from what we see in Western Pennsylvania, but I'm quite happy. Over the years, I've learned that we do things a safe way, and again, I try to keep it simple, right? So as long as I'm taking care of my client, keeping their best interest is the number one priority, typically you don't run into any issues. So in other areas, I can't really speak for them because I've never worked there, but I know from talking with some of our affiliates that compared to the national news that's coming out with the real estate world, we've actually been in more of a safe, positive situation.
Matt Madani is my guest, as is Ron Gavel and Stephanie Hook. It is Huntington Business Spotlight. Stephanie, I know during the seminar this is one of the things that will be presented, but I want to ask you, what does Huntington Bank do differently, or how does Huntington Bank handle it differently? I come into you, I don't want to buy a house. I want to buy an investment property. I want to buy a rental property. What does that change? Does it change anything?
So the investment property, absolutely. We can finance not only for first-time home buyers. We've talked a lot about first-time home buyers, and the seminar is really for.
What are you asking of me differently?
Yeah, so we'd ask that you're a little bit more money in your pocket. So come to the table.
A zero credit score isn't going to help it with the investment.
It will not help you with an investment property. Correct. Yeah. So a little bit more seasoned buyer, maybe a little bit more mature credit. So you want a higher credit score. You would want a little bit more money in your pocket. You come to the table. It's a little bit more risk taking on an investment property. So you're going to always make sure that you got a roof over your head. But if times get tough, you might not want to pay for that other expense.
That second mortgage or third or fourth or what?
Yeah, so a little bit more money to come to the table to offset the risk there. But we help investors as well.
Ron, I'm going to ask you a general question. Why did you get involved in becoming a mortgage loan officer?
I mentioned before, when I bought my first house, it was a horrific experience.
Okay, why?
The loan officer was older, condescending. I felt like I was wasting his time.
Like, hey, you're doing. He treated you like he was doing you a favor.
Yeah, just be quiet, sit in the corner, don't say anything until I speak to you. It should be a wonderful experience. You're living out the American dream,
right?
There are so many. I call it rent anxiety. You never know when the landlord's going to raise your rent or sell the house.
I have that right now.
Or sell the house.
Yeah.
So when you own your home, you're your own landlord. You determine what happens with your when you're moving or not. That's all on you. So the anxiety's gone. But working with first-time buyers is a passion of mine because of what I went through. That's why I got into business in the first place.
Because it was such a negative experience.
I said I can do better than that.
We can do better than that, and you did. Weirdly, are more people interested now in purchasing a home because a landlord, and you talk about the stories in the media. My daughter just got a letter. Her lease runs out in June. Her rent is going up about 35%. Are more people being driven to look for home ownership just because at that point a mortgage is less than rent? Are you seeing that?
It happens a lot that way, where the rents increase, and you have no control over that.
Right.
But when you buy the home and you realize that, my mortgage payment is $200 less per month than my rent, like who wouldn't do that? So you see that quite often. Also, and I wanted to touch on this point, another passion of mine is to help prospective homeowners in the low to moderate income areas buy their homes. And I'll let Stephanie define low to moderate income areas.
I was about to ask, so we'll get Stephanie to define that.
But we also, at Huntington, we want to help serve our communities and help grow them and strengthen them. And one of the things that we do is we have a special program for people who are buying in low to moderate income areas. Also, we're going to expand our seminars to other areas in the city that are also low to moderate income areas to encourage home ownership in those areas.
All right, Stephanie, what is a low to moderate income area and how does it change?
Yeah. So this would be an area that the census data, so every 10 years you get your census, but there's data that comes along with each year on what the income levels of a particular community are. We look at these, I should say the census data is there to show that if this area or this community is lower than surrounding areas, Huntington looks at those as an opportunity, and we want to help those folks to become homeowners and strengthen those communities. Ron started to touch on some of the benefits of home ownership and building community, but you're investing in yourself, that lifelong investment. We want to see that even in the lower income areas. So we actually have some programs where we will give free money, like actual free money, no strings attached, to folks buying and financing with Huntington.
When you have that situation, how much of percentage-wise, how many people are buying their first home versus how many people are buying a home to flip it?
Oh, good question. So we don't discriminate. So that credit that we give for those low-income areas, it could be for a homeowner or for an investor.
Okay.
I don't know that I'd have that particular data to say which, what percentage, but I'd say the majority of what we see is not investors; it's homeowners.
Do you have people that want to buy in a low-income area and that's where they live? Are they more hesitant, thinking, well, I'm in a low-income area, it's going to be harder for me? Do you have to make them understand it's not harder because of where you're buying?
I don't think that you'd be surprised. Like some of these areas, you don't know that you're in a low-income area.
Okay.
It's little pockets of neighborhoods. I feel like people are going to find a home that's close to work, close to family, and I wouldn't say that is the driving force in a lot of homeowners' minds of where they choose.
How many people come to you and want to buy more house than they can afford versus come to you and want to buy a house and can afford more than they're looking at?
Yeah,
I heard a couple giggles.
Yeah, lots of
there.
giggles. Yeah, sometimes we have to do a reality check. What kind of house you would love to live in maybe doesn't necessarily match up with your budget. But I think it's a mixed bag. Some people don't know how much they can afford, and so when I hand a pre-approval up to $500,000, they say, "What?" Of course, that doesn't mean it's comfortable for your budget. We look at what's on your credit report and your income. We don't look at, what your daycare expenses are, or what your insurance costs and things like that. So, you could get a house that's maybe not comfortable for you, but you're pre-approved for it. But I think you really want to start to look at what is comfortable for you as far as a monthly payment, and making sure that, what your housing expense, it's something that you're gonna love for maybe even the next 30 years.
Stephanie Hook with me, as is Ron Gabel and Matt Badani. You mentioned childcare, free childcare during the seminar. I forgot to mention that.
Yes.
Run down what's available to everyone at the seminar. I want to make sure people know they need to register, but you can register by calling 724-312-2888. Or they can call you, Ron, at 724-316-3323. Or they can go to the Huntington's website, I'm assuming. Or at least email you at ron.gabel@huntington.com.
Right, or reach out to the Midland Center.
Oh, the center in Midland.
Yes.
That's where it is. If somebody shows up, what can they expect? And if they're serious or if they're past the just curious, would you suggest they bring some financial paperwork? Is that a place where that will help?
Not at that time.
Okay.
The seminar is structured where, we go over the myths. We talk about credit. There's myths there, too, as far as, what needs to be done if credit's an issue, to fix it, correct it, get it on the right path. Or if it's zero, build it up. What we need to do to use those non-traditional credits references to build up the credit. Then we get into the area you're going to look into for buying, and the program we have for low to moderate income areas, and the benefit there. we go through the whole process. Matt gets involved in talking about, taking them to show them houses and counsel them on, if the house just isn't right for them. There may be some issues with the home, but I'll let Matt talk about that when he's with the client. But what happens after the seminar, we make appointments to reach back out to the prospective buyers to spend some time, because doing that in that environment, that forum, just doesn't. First of all, from a confidentiality standpoint,
right?
Yeah. So we have to schedule that after the seminar.
All right. What should I have asked you that I didn't ask you? We're starting to get up on time, and I got way more questions. But Matt, what would you want to let people know as a realtor when it comes to buying a house that they don't seem to know when they come to see you?
The thing that I get all the time, and Ron touched on this a little bit, but a lot of the old myths about down payment amount, credit scores, and things, it seems like a lot of old ideologies still, seem to be out there. And don't get discouraged to pick up the phone. Call an agent, talk to them. That's what we're here to do, is to help. So that would be, my advice is communication really goes a long way. But I did want to touch on something Ron said. As far as the seminar goes, I'd encourage anybody who wants to come check it out, whether you think, it's something you may be interested in the future. Sooner than that, it's very casual. There's Q&A time. It's not something to be intimidated by. And, if you're interested in talking more, I know last year when we did it at the center again, we had a number of people that ended up setting up more one-on-one appointment time with us afterwards. And that's kind of where you get into more of that specific planning.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we had a mom show up last time who wasn't going to buy, but her daughter wanted to buy. She couldn't make it, so the mom came, and we gave her the information. Yeah. So even if someone in your family, a son or daughter, can't make it, but they're interested in doing it, and you want some information, come to the seminar.
Seminar is April 6th, so next Saturday. It's at the center in Midland from 10 till noon. Not only is childcare provided, refreshments will be provided. Stephanie, what did I not ask you that I should have asked you?
Well, I think there's a lot of negative news right now and saying it's not a great time to buy a house.
True.
And I think, I would challenge that, and let's have a conversation about what's important to your family, and is homeownership really a dream? I would say that right now there is definitely a cost of waiting. So if you...
Meaning it's going to get more expensive if you don't get on it.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So, we don't have a lot of inventory right now, Matt can attest. But as we get more houses and there's more demand in the market, the prices will continue to go up. So don't sit on the sidelines. Get ready now. And so when your perfect house comes along, you're ready.
Ron, which is more important, my credit score or my income?
Income.
Okay.
Regardless of your score,
that means a new job. Okay.
We will not put somebody in a position who cannot afford the home.
Okay.
We're not going to put you in a position to fail. So even if you had a 800 credit score, but your income would not be able to cover your debts in the new home, that's a loan we can't do, because we will never, ever, speaking of fiduciary responsibility, we have one to make sure that any home that's purchased, that buyer can afford that home. That was not done prior to 2009. That's why the industry collapsed.
Okay.
And that is one thing we must do regardless.
All right, last question real quick. If I'm selling a multi-million-dollar home, is it tacky to include the furniture? I call it the Kenny Pickett question. Is it?
Well, it's from Levin, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, you would think. Okay. How often does that happen? Somebody says, I want to sell my house, I want everything to go with it in it. Buy. That's not the norm.
It depends on the buyer, right? It depends on the buyer.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the buyer. I've seen it quite a few times over my career. It may not be a whole furnished home, but I've seen some pretty amazing deals. Sellers leave behind bedroom sets, dining room sets, sometimes out of the goodness of their heart, sometimes for a deep, deep discount. So sometimes when you're buying that home, you do get a couple nice pieces that come along with it. So it's just kind of a luck of the draw situation. You never know when you're going to encounter something like that.
So, Eddie, you selling your home?
No.
Okay, sorry.
Ron Gabel, Matt Badani, and Stephanie Hook have been my guests on Huntington Business Spotlight. No, the divorce sold my home. Thanks for bringing that up, Ron. Anytime you guys need to come back, want to come back, please, will you?
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
It is Teleforum on Beaver County Radio.
Do you remember Thanksgiving and Christmas, how scrumptious your turkey from Jones Turkey Farm was? Why not get one now? They've got chickens and turkeys for $2.50 a pound. Turkey breast just $3.50 a pound. Get it fresh or get it frozen. Just get it. They're all natural, free-roaming, preservative-free, and handled with extreme care. Order now on their fantastic website store, jonesturkeyfarm.com, or call 352-2450 for the tastiest turkey in Western Pennsylvania. It's the Jones Turkey Farm in Cabot. Quite simply, the best.
Beaver County Radio proudly welcomes Fry Transportation to their family. You're listening to 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP, live from the all-new Fry Transportation Studios.
Stop by your local McDonald's today and pick up everyone's favorites, the Shamrock Shake and Oreo Shamrock McFlurry, now available through March 24th. Don't miss out on these fan favorites. Shamrock Shake and Oreo Shamrock McFlurry, now at McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Be a part of the conversation with Teleforum, weekdays from 9 till noon on WBVP, WMBA, and now at 99.3 FM.
Happy Easter from St. Barnabas Broadcasting.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls.